my brothers and sisters across Africa, my people of Namibia, and my friends watching from every corner of the world. Today, under the same African sun that has witnessed both our pain and our triumphs, I speak to you with gratitude, admiration, and conviction. This is not a moment for politics or applause. This is a moment for truth. A truth that has slept too long in the heart of Africa and must now awaken. I stand not only as the leader of Namibia, but as a child of this soil, a daughter of this mighty continent that has been wounded yet never defeated. I speak not from behind the comfort of walls, but from the depths of my soul, a soul shaped by the voices of our ancestors, by the resilience of our mothers, and by the dreams of our youth, who still believe in an Africa that will rise again. For generations, we have allowed others to define us, to tell our story, to measure our worth and to shape our destiny. But today I say no more. Today we reclaim our narrative. We reclaim our dignity. We reclaim our power to decide our own tomorrow. This message is not for Namibia alone. It is for every African heart that still beats with hope. It is for the world that watches us with curiosity, with doubt, and too often, with underestimation. I say this clearly, watch closely, because Africa is no longer asleep. Africa is awake. Africa is speaking. Africa is rising. There are moments in history when one act of courage transforms an entire continent. Today, that courage lives in President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. When I first heard him speak, I did not hear a politician performing for applause. I heard a warrior of truth. A young lion whose heart burns with faith in his people. A man who does not bow to fear, nor trade his nation's dignity for the illusion of friendship. He reminded us of what true leadership means. That it is not measured by comfort or praise, but by the willingness to stand for your people, even when it costs you everything. He has become more than a president. He has become a symbol, a voice of Africa's awakening. When he speaks not only for Burkina Faso, but for every nation that has been silenced, every community that has been plundered, and every youth told that Africa must always depend on others to survive. When I listen to Ibrahim Traoré, I hear the echoes of Sankara, Lumumba, and Nkrumah. Men who dared to imagine an Africa that stood tall. But Traoré carries something new. The courage of a generation that refuses to be fooled again. A generation that no longer wants to survive, but to thrive and lead. For centuries, Africa has been called the richest continent beneath the ground and the poorest above it. That is no accident. That is design. Our lands overflow with gold, diamonds, oil, and cobalt. Yet our schools lack books, our hospitals lack medicine, and our workers remain underpaid. Those who arrive claiming to help often come with invisible chains. They call it aid. They call it partnership. But too often, it is exploitation disguised as generosity. They come with contracts written in languages we barely understand, numbers that sound generous but hide traps in fine print. They call it investment, but it is extraction. They build mines that shine beneath our sun, while our children walk barefoot in the dust. They call us developing, yet it is our resources that built their cities, their banks, and their empires. For too long, we smiled for their cameras and signed their papers, pretending not to see the theft behind the handshake. But Africa was crying for someone to speak the truth. And then came Ibrahim Traoré, a soldier who asked one simple question. If this gold is ours, why do we own only 10% of it? With that question, he broke the spell of fear. He tore through decades of false diplomacy and gave us back our courage. He did not come to destroy. He came to rebuild. He ordered that every mining contract be reviewed, that foreign companies either respect the people or leave the land. Some called him reckless. Some said he was too young, but history will remember him as brave. He wrote new laws that declared Burkina Faso's gold would be refined on its own soil, that jobs would stay in its towns, and that the state would own the lion's share of its own wealth. No more foreign written deals, no more silent theft. For the first time, the land beneath their feet became a blessing, not a curse. And when the world saw this, something changed. The fire spread. Nations that once felt too small to resist began to awaken. They realized that strength is not in size but in spirit, that wealth is not in money but in will, that true freedom begins with courage. Ibrahim Traoré's message is greater than economics. It is a moral awakening. He has taught us that protecting our resources is an act of love. Love for our people, love for our land, love for the generations yet to come. He reminded us that gold means nothing unless it builds schools, that oil means nothing unless it powers hospitals, and that diamonds mean nothing unless they bring water to our villages. He has shown us that real leadership is service, not to foreign powers, but to those who walk our soil and share our destiny. Africa does not need to beg for investors. Africa is the investor. We have the land, the youth, the minerals, the spirit. All we ever lacked was the confidence to say no. Now that confidence is rising. From Senegal to Sudan, from Ghana to Namibia, a wave of courage is sweeping through the continent. Leaders are reopening old contracts, challenging unfair deals, and demanding dignity. This is the Traoré effect, a rebirth of African self-belief. He has awakened something ancient within us, a pride that was never dead, only silenced. Africa is rediscovering its voice, its ownership, its unity. When Traoré says, "Our minerals are for our people," he speaks for us all. This is not rebellion, it is restoration. Africa is not turning against the world. Africa is returning to itself, to our partners in the West. Hear this clearly. Africa is not your enemy. We do not reject cooperation, we reject deception. We are ready to partner, but not to be plundered. We will no longer accept aid that comes wrapped in chains. We seek fairness, not favors. Equality, not dependency. Africa is not poor. It has been made poor. The poverty you see is not our destiny. It is the result of centuries of systems designed to keep us on our knees. Our gold built their banks. Our diamonds adorned their crowns. Our oil powered their cities. Yet our people still thirst for water. That is not destiny. That is injustice. True progress will never come from borrowed tools. It must come from our own hands, our own minds, and our own courage. We must stop asking for permission to rise. We must stop waiting for validation to act. The day Africa realizes its true power is the day the world will never again call us poor. To my fellow African leaders, I say this with respect and honesty. Do not fear Traoré's courage. Learn from it. Let his fire remind you of your own. Our people are tired of speeches. They are hungry for action. Leadership means nothing if it does not lift the powerless. Independence means nothing if it can be sold for photo opportunities. Let us trade with each other. Let us defend one another. When one of us stands, all must rise, because together we are unbreakable. And to the youth of Africa, the heartbeat of our continent, listen to me. The world will tell you that you are too young, too inexperienced, too powerless. But they said the same to every visionary who ever changed history. You are the generation that will finish what our ancestors began. Your tools are not weapons, but knowledge. Your battle is not against each other, but against the limits imposed upon you. You must create, invent, and build the Africa our children deserve. Greatness will not come from approval abroad, but from belief within. Every young African who chooses courage over comfort becomes another Traoré in spirit. My brothers and sisters, something unstoppable is moving through Africa. It is the wind of truth, of courage, of awakening. For centuries, we were told to bow, to wait, to obey. But that time is over. The era of silence is ending. The era of African awakening has begun. Africa will trade with the world, but as an equal. We will cooperate, but with dignity. We will engage, but with pride. Because freedom is not granted, it is claimed. Dignity is not requested, it is demanded. They may try to silence Traore, but they cannot silence a continent that has rediscovered its voice. True independence means control over our resources, our education, our defense, and our destiny. And so, from this proud land of Namibia, I say to you, President Ibrahim Traore, your courage is our courage. Your vision is our vision. Together we will build an Africa that honors its ancestors and inspires its children. May God bless Burkina Faso. May God bless Namibia. May God bless every African nation that still believes in true dignity and unity. Because the age of silence is over. The age of African awakening has begun.